Hi everybody, welcome to Jin's Wall Street News. According to the U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, U.S. housing starts, a measure of new residential construction, fell 1.8% in November from a month ago. The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell delivered remarks after the Federal Open Market Committee meeting on Wednesday, saying, quote, "The committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point," unquote. He added, quote, "The median participants projects that the appropriate level of the federal funds rate will be at 3.9% at the end of next year," unquote. 10-year Treasury yield jumps to the 4.52% after the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's press conference. For the U.S. stocks, S&P 500 fell 2.95% and the Nasdaq Composite tumbled 3.56% Wednesday. Shares of Micron Technology falls about 16% in extended trading on Wednesday after the company reported weaker than expected guidance for the current quarter. According to the U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, U.S. housing starts, a measure of new residential construction, fell 1.8% in November to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1,289,000, down 14.6% from the previous year. However, privately owned housing units authorized by building permits jumped 6.1% in November from the previous month to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1,505,000, but down 0.2% from a year ago. The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell delivered remarks after the Federal Open Market Committee meeting on Wednesday, saying, quote, "At today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point to 4.25% to 4.5%. In a summary of economic projections, committee participants generally expect GDP growth to remain solid, with the median projection of about 2% over the next few years. In the labor market, conditions remain solid. The median projection for the unemployment rate in the SEP is 4.2% at the end of this year and 4.3% over the next few years. Inflation has eased significantly over the past 2 years, but remains somewhat elevated relative to a 2% longer-run goal. The median projection in the SEP for total PCE inflation is 2.4% this year and 2.5% next year. When it comes to the monetary policy, he added, quote, "The median participant projects that the appropriate level of the federal funds rate will be 3.9% at the end of next year. These median projections are somewhat higher than in September." And he explained why the median projections are somewhat higher than in September, quote, "Inflation is higher this year. It's also higher in the forecast next year. I'd also point out that we are closer to the neutral rate, which is another reason to be cautious about further moves." He also talked about the reverse repo rate, quote, "On a technical note, we lowered the offering rate on our overnight reverse repo facility to align it with the bottom of the target range for the federal funds rate," unquote. 10-year Treasury yield fell as the U.S. housing starts indicated that the U.S. housing market is still struggling. Then it jumped as the summary of economic projections signaled fewer rate cuts in the coming year than in September, and it moved up further after the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's press conference. For the U.S. stocks, S&P 500 fell 2.95%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 2.58%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq tumbled 3.56%. Oh my goodness, most of the US stocks were in the red on Wednesday, except health insurance stocks. Shares of United Health Group rose 2.92%. Shares of Micron Technology dropped about 16% in extended trading on Wednesday after the company reported weaker than expected guidance for the current quarter. The company reported $8.7 billion of revenue for the previous quarter, up 84% on a yearly basis, in line with expectations. Adjusted EPS was $1.79, up from 95 cents earning per loss last year, higher than expectations. When it comes to the current quarter guidance, the company expected $7.9 billion, less than market forecasts, even lower than the previous quarter's revenue. Micron Technology President and CEO Sanjay Mehrotra talked about the guidance quote, "We had previously shared the expectation that customer inventory reductions in the consumer-oriented segments and seasonality would impact fiscal Q2 bit shipments. We are now seeing a more pronounced impact of customer inventory reductions. As a result, our fiscal Q2 bit shipment outlook is weaker than we previously expected. We expect this adjustment period to be relatively brief and anticipate customer inventories reaching healthier levels by spring, enabling stronger bit shipments in the second half of fiscal and calendar 2025. We are on track to achieve our HBM target and also deliver substantial record in Micron revenue, significantly improved profitability, and positive free cash flow in fiscal 2025." Unquote. Okay, this is the end of today's news. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.